So Jack, you ready to talk about that new Furry anime?
You mean Beastars?
No, the other one.
Agretsuko?
No, the one that came out recently.
BNA.
No, the one with cats.
Nekopara?
Jack.
Oh, right. The Mario Okada one. You know, I'm starting to wonder if Netflix is trying to tell us something with all these.
Says the man who admires Kermit the Frog.
I just think he's neat.
You were wearing a Kermit the Frog t-shirt when we met.
No. That said Kermit the Gorf. Anyways, now showing on UTS Home Theater, The Muppets Take Manhattan.
Jack?
Damn it. Yay.
お前は太陽の匂いがするな。太郎だったらこんなに好きになってくれるんだね。
Mio Sasaki is your typical chuny middle schooler with a crush on her classmate Hinode. Known as Muge by her peers for her quirky personality, Mio is a bit of a social outcast, and Hinode ignores her repeated boisterous attempts to get him to notice her. One day, she stumbles across a creepy mask salesman who gives her the power to transform into a cat, which she takes as the perfect opportunity to get closer to Hinode, until the line between her forms becomes blurred. Will Mio learn to love and express herself as a human, or will she be stuck merely observing the world as a cat forever? What did you think of A Whisker Away?
When I first saw the trailer, I was not sure what I was actually getting myself into. This is a screenplay by Mario Okada, who I think most people know as the screenwriter for Anohana and the director of Makia.
And
so
among many things.
Yeah, I'm not going to read off her mal list, but basically...
We'd be here for an hour.
Exactly. So I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but then I heard it was directed by Junichi Sato. I've never said the name out loud. Is that correct?
Yep.
Who I think most know for his time on Aria and Sailor Moon. And then this is done by Studio Colorido, who we've both praised in the past for different things. And so going in, I knew I was going to enjoy this. And I was right. A Whisker Away is a mostly lighthearted love story that deals with the masks we put on in life. For ourselves, for how others see us, and why once established, our masks can often be very hard to take off. With this film making this concept visual in a manner that I thought had a great mix of comedy and fantasy.
Yeah, I think that, for me, I have a pretty complicated relationship when it comes to Mario Okada works, especially her original works. It's like boom or bust with a lot of them, and...
Wait, do you not like Anohana?
No, I do like Anohana, although,
okay.
I mean, it's not like it's not my favorite anime of hers.
Okay, we just said early film works. It's like, wait, we gotta talk about this now.
All of her works. I mean, there are some that I absolutely love that she did the writing for, like Toradora, and then there are others that I can't say the same. Now, I don't know how much her voice is going to be in it, because a lot of these were like adapted works, like Toradora and Wandering Sun. So if we're looking more at her originals, which A Whisker Away is, it tends to be pretty hit or miss for me, and they also tend to have some, shall we say, problematic elements in them often. And generally speaking, I don't think that she writes romance super well, particularly in those original works. So the concept of an original romance story written by Mario Okada had me like a little leery. Individually, I know that all of the people involved in this film are capable of doing more than what they showed here, because I've seen better from them. For me, A Whisker Away had a good premise, even if it's not like a revolutionary one, and it had plenty of moments in about its first 2/3 that I could get behind, and I felt like there was a simply powerful story in there. Like, it wasn't overcomplicated in its themes, and the emotions were generally kept pretty well in check. Like, it wasn't this super melodramatic film, to its credit. But it did kind of lose me in its third act once some of the fantastical elements came in, and the story the story ultimately became a mess. There was an interesting message to be had there that got a little bit muddled for me by the end of the movie, to the point that I can't say it was one that, while entertaining at times, I can't say I had a wholly positive experience by the end of it.
Did you want... Let me see if I can ask this without spoiling for you, or spoiling for the audience. Did you want more of a Penguin Highway out of this film?
Yeah, I think... I would say that Penguin Highway I definitely enjoyed more. And
yeah, well, just the way you're speaking, it's like, yeah, I want to change up the whole fantasy element at the end. Let's focus more on the second part of that film, where they're kind of more at their low point.
I think
which in Penguin Highway is what they did, and basically, right. We do go to a fantasy world in Penguin Highway, but it's like for literally just a few minutes, and then we're immediately back out of there.
Yeah,
so
I think that like, I feel like when A Whisker Away started to try to be a Ghibli movie, that was when it didn't work for me.
Okay, I don't think it's trying to be a Ghibli movie. It's just its style is just classic anime animal characteristics. That's not Ghibli. Ghibli doesn't own the copyright on that.
It's not just the animal thing, though. It's that like whimsical, fantastical element that is like completely out. It's not in the first 2/3 of the movie, hardly at all. Like all we really see from that is just the creepy mask salesman. I didn't think it needed to get any more complicated than that when it came to the fantasy.
I disagree. I don't know. For me, it's like it made the film stand out more, just from what would have been more of a more typical romance story that we have seen and talked about before, whether on here or other places.
I don't think that's good writing, though. I think that's like ultimately all of that stuff was completely frivolous to the thematic core of the movie.
Okay, yeah, yes, but at the same time, our main character's name in this cat-based movie is Meow.
Mio.
Yeah, Meow.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So
if you're butchering the pronunciation, I guess I never thought.
I'm just saying, when the main character, like, his name is a pun, you kind of have to like, okay, this is kind of the story we're going into. It's not meant to be super heavy. They're using heavy elements, but they're not the focus.
Well, that's the thing, though, is that I liked that thematically it wasn't that heavy. You know, at its core, it was a pretty simple story about two characters learning how to express themselves and actually engage with the world around them. And for the first 2/3 of the movie, I thought it was doing a good job establishing that and exploring that theme in a simple, easily digestible way that is fitting for what's ultimately a kid's movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that last, 45 minutes, I don't think contributed anything to that, and mostly just left me confused.
For me, I preferred that over a film where it was 45 minutes of one character not being able to speak to another character, and then trying to figure out, how do I communicate? I don't know, I'll write something in the clay. Or just something like that. I was scared that's where we were going.
And I wouldn't have wanted that either. Part of the problem is that I just think the movie was 45 minutes too long.
Oh no. I liked it.
So the movie is an hour and 45 minutes, and kind of the part I'm talking about where it started to lose me was right around that hour mark. And
yeah.
I think they could have resolved it in just a much simpler way at that point that would have left this around the hour 10 mark, that I would have been more satisfied with what we got than ultimately all the fantasy mumbo jumbo.
But the thing is, for me, actually, since you brought this up, I thought the pacing of this film was actually really well done. I didn't feel like any one scene overstayed its welcome. I didn't feel like I got bored with any one scene. I mean, I can get the idea of we're suddenly getting introduced to a whole bunch of fantasy elements. Okay, it could be a little jarring, but for me as a whole, the foundation leading up to that was written well enough to where I'm yeah, cool, take me away. Take me to a giant fantasy cat island. I want to see what in the world is happening here in the skies. I want to see what this is.
Yeah, and I guess it's somewhat something of a disconnect between what we both wanted out of it, in the sense that I could not have cared less about the mechanics of the fantasy in this. I was all I needed to hear was, you got a creepy mask salesman who's got this weird magic mask that turns cats into humans and humans into cats. Go. I didn't need any more than that. I bought that as a simple premise and a vehicle for telling this story about the characters and their expression.
Okay.
Now I will agree with what you said, though, about the pacing to an extent, and I don't want to. I'm gonna try not to sound like a broken record in this, but I did really like the pacing in that first hour, and I thought that certain things, I thought that how certain scenes were connected was done really well, and we can get more into specifics.
Why don't you like furries, Jack?
Beastars is my number 2 anime from 2019, so don't even go there.
The film was good, but then they had to push their agenda.
And I liked Agretsuko.
I had to show you that.
True, but I liked it.
It's okay.
It doesn't change that fact.
The only element that I kind of found a little about, what I wasn't sure, was the there's a whole divorce subplot in this film with the characters and with how they're written. I felt I didn't want a whole 10 minutes dedicated to that more, but I feel like there needed to be one more scene, especially near the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was left on a comedic note where it's kind of weird to leave divorce on a comedic note.
Yeah, it was a pretty boilerplate divorce story. Like there wasn't anything particularly interesting or new going on there. You know, it was just it was definitely your standard like, you know, young daughter has the new stepmom and doesn't connect with her and like hates how her family is broken, yada blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. It was basically just a plot device to give the main character something that made them retract inward from the world.
Yeah. And
it was like, you know, what's something middle schoolers struggle with often? Divorce. Yeah, put that in there. That's kind of what it was. I think now is when we can pretty much start getting into spoilers, because there's some like specific things I want to say about her and her characterization that at this mark, if you haven't already seen the film and don't want to be spoiled about anything, then give it a watch on Netflix and come back once you're ready to hear the rest.
私本当は人間に戻りたいの。泣きたい私は猫をかぶる。
I loved how Mio was introduced to us, particularly in that first scene at the school where she does the Hinode super drive or whatever it's called.
The Hinode sunrise attack.
Hinode sunrise.
All the other people around her turn into literal dummies in her rose-tinted vision.
No, I love that. In that one moment I realized, oh shoot, she's a yandere. This is gonna be fun.
Which is, that is one thing that I was like a little, I don't know how I feel about this on, but we'll get to that. But in terms of just like her general personality, I really enjoyed her like super chuny quirkiness. It was a lot of fun.
Mio's introduction, I thought, was really well done. We have the cold open with seeing her by herself, running away from her parents. It's clear that she has frustration and sadness just filling her up. But then we do a quick jump cut, and we see her as bubbly as possible. It introduces the fantasy element while at the same time introducing the true reality of this character, that she is putting on a mask. Both the cat one and also just the one in her daily life. Mostly for her crush. Because as we'll see later on, she knows more about him than he knows that she knows. And she knows that this is the personality that he needs in his life right now. Even if she is still hurting. This doesn't need any exposition, no explanation. It's just visual storytelling. And the way it jumps us straight into the film, I thought was just great on their part.
I don't know if she's a yandere as well, because
She was willing to jump, like, from 20 feet in the air through a tree just because she heard some guy's bad mouthing her man.
She's not, but like a yandere will also like murder people. I don't think she'll go that far, but
I don't think yandere means murder. I think it just means like they'll go a little crazy at moments.
But,
because the moment like she's bruised, she's bleeding. The second she's asked like, "Hey, are you okay?" That's a yandere, but I liked her. I liked her dedication. She wasn't gonna back down.
And it is interesting how similar Muge and Hinode actually are in that way, in that like neither of them can really express themselves, because on the surface Muge seems like the complete opposite. Like she seems like she can't help but do nothing, only express herself, like over the top so, whereas Hinode is like a much more reserved person. But essentially, it's all a front from Muge. And so I thought that the early portions of the film did a really good job establishing that. They also did give me my favorite line of the entire movie, and one of my favorite lines of the whole year of anything I've watched. when the friend asks her... That was great. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. The writing for this was really good. So to skip ahead a little here, the main plot of the film is that with the mask Moyo got from the cat salesman, she is able to turn into a cat herself and visit Hinode, who views Mio as the stray that kind of reminds him of this pet he previously had, and so he opens up to her. And there we got to see his whole different side, where he was much more open and much more just human, for lack of a better word, when he wasn't essentially around another human. You could see him expressing himself, talking about things. And you see this is the person that Mio is attracted to.
Right.
That she's connected to this person, but he doesn't know it's her, and it's the dynamic I liked. It was a way to basically do organic exposition without it feeling too forced.
And I think that in those early scenes with the two of them, I like how we learned that Muge's crush especially developed on Hinode when she was in the cat. Like, she already liked him, but it was when she was in her cat form for the first time, and Hinode found her, and she heard that, like, she saw the, like, real side of himself and realized how similar the two of them were, that her love became something more meaningful. And I did appreciate how that was handled. The one thing that did kind of give me the heebie-jeebies about some of these scenes where Muge was definitely a little bit of a stalker. It teetered on creepy a good portion of the time when she was in cat form and stalking Hinode. Like, especially when Hinode was, like, being really affectionate with her, and, like, she's a cat. So, like, Hinode is just like, Hinode is just being wholesome and, like, yeah, it's a cat. You know, you pet the cat and be nice to the cat. And she's like, but she's not a cat. She's a person.
Sometimes you give the cat's belly rubs. Sometimes, you give kisses. It's like,
yeah,
it's not
like,
weird.
That was,
but then when you realize this,
the creep factor was pretty high. I'm not gonna lie.
To be fair, he was innocent. He didn't know what was happening.
Hinode was innocent. Muge was very, very not innocent. Well, that's the thing, is that eventually, right, Hinode does find out that Muge was the cat all along, and he just, like, it doesn't faze him at all. He just totally blows by. He's like, oh, okay, so she was the cat all along. All right, well, let's go find her. Like, think about this for a second, my man.
I mean, look, let's be honest. This is anime. I'm used to much more crazier things.
Well, and, so, I mean, forget anime. I mean, this is also Mario Okada. Like,
yeah.
Ultimately, all of this kind of culminates around the halfway point of the film in what's probably its emotional high point, in the scene where Muge decides to write a love letter for Hinode, and before she can give it to him, it gets ripped out of her hands by a bully at school, who then reads it aloud in front of the entire class. And it is exactly painful and embarrassing as you would think. I thought that scene was handled really well. I don't know about you.
Studio Colorido has found a really weird niche of being able to do middle school bullies really well.
Yeah. There was one of the touches in that scene that I liked a lot was, so, like, at first, there's, like, the main bully, right? But then he's also got, like, his cronies with him, and they're, like, egging him on, and, like, they're teasing Muge and stuff. But once he rips the love letter out of her hands and is going to read it, like, even his cronies are like, hey, are you sure you're going to do that? Like, literally everyone in the room is like, whoa, that's too far, And the kid does get his comeuppance because Muge, like, roundhouse kicks him over a desk. And then probably my favorite part in the whole scene is when her friend is leaving and then, like, takes one more quick step on top of the desk that he still crushed under before leaving.
They do a flashback to that scene later in the movie when people are just like, essentially Hinode says in the scene, like, hey, Mio, I think you're crazy. I don't actually like you. I hate you. Stop doing this, because Mio was basically saying things that he was not comfortable saying out loud yet, at least not to a human. Mm-hmm. But even in those, like, flashback scenes, you still see the bully, like, buried under the desk, just waving his arms, like, help. I made a mistake.
Yeah, I like to think that they specifically included him in that frame again, just to remind us that he did get fucked.
Did he die? It was done vaguely.
They gave him the jet treatment. But in terms of the emotions of that scene, I thought that that was handled well too. Like, Muge's heartbrokenness, that hit pretty good. That was certainly the closest the film got me to, like, really, really feeling something.
One thing, just real quick, I liked about just that shots of her just essentially breaking down. Mm-hmm. She's still smiling.
Yeah, right. She's still putting on that face.
Yeah, because her friend basically essentially, like, explains, like, no, she's got a lot of stuff she's dealing with. She's been trying to put on a strong face because it's how she handles things, but she's really sad. She really likes you, and that was really messed up. Mm-hmm. But even in that one moment, like, when she's just basically the lowest she could be, she'll still smile, because it's like, she doesn't want him to feel too bad, but she can't control the fact that she's crying. That is a very subtle touch that I thought was very, very well done.
Yeah, and Studio Colorido's character animation is fantastic. Throughout this whole movie, there's a lot of, I thought, standout cuts of, particularly with Muge, her character animation. Obviously, that one with like the highly emotional scene, but like even just like her bouncy quirkiness throughout the rest of it was animated really well. They're certainly one of the strongest up and coming studios out there. But yeah, so that scene kind of carries us into this second act of the movie where after she's heartbroken from this incident, she goes back into her cat form and still goes to see Hinode again. And he, again, shows that love to her. And so she's like, she, at that point, totally rejects her humanity because the person she loves accepts her in this form and not in the other. And so that's when we get into this whole arc of, like, she's now permanently stuck as a cat. Question. Did you see the twist with the house cat coming? The pet.
No. I figured, okay, it's a cat movie. Something's got to happen with that cat. My only theory up to that point was maybe somehow that was the girl we saw at the very beginning of the film. Like maybe it was gonna be a twist, and like then they were gonna talk or something. Like now she's like 30 years old and she's been stuck in this cat body for 20 years. That
was something. The second that Muge like popped up back on screen, I was like, oh my god, it's gonna be the house pet. Because there were like 3 shots of the house pet earlier in the movie that were like super ominous and foreboding.
So yeah, Kinako and the mask salesman are actually in cahoots, because it turns out when a human decides to basically stay as a cat permanently, whoever basically takes her human form and the salesman each get half of her remaining life. So basically these cats now can live for another 40 years apiece, give or take.
Yeah, so this kind of opened up a can of worms for me.
Why?
First thing I want to say, and I don't want to sound like I don't want to sound like CinemaSins trying to poke teeth.
I have a ding sound effect ready.
Already queued up. I'm sure you do. I don't want to try to like poke little needle holes in this movie. However, the idea then that it just makes me think that, do all cats have human level sentience? And if so, we're just enslaving them as house pets.
No. See, here's the thing. This is what you don't understand, Jack. Because you've only had Shiki for, a year? Actually, you've had her for 6 months.
Yeah, thereabouts.
Right? No, here's the thing you don't understand, Jackery. You're her pet. You just haven't realized it yet. She goes where she wants. She's got you feeding her. She's got you cleaning up after her messes. You're the caretaker here. You're not the owner. Like, yeah, you don't think they have sentience? They don't think that they understand, like, what they're doing? No, cats are smart. They know, like, they can get away with this stuff.
Yeah, that's a fair point, you know?
Yeah,
I can buy the argument that cats actually do already have human-level sentience, and we are their pets.
Yeah, you're talking like, oh, this is fantasy. No, that's the most real thing in this whole film. Have you never seen? Oh wait, have you had to see Shiki just kind of like look at something like that's not there with like big old eyes and get all spooked?
Yes.
Have you guys see that? Yeah, that's her seeing the road. She's seeing these fantasy elements. You just can't.
Again, so that's what she does when I'm at work all day.
These are not the fantasy
getting
elements.
Drunk at a izakaya in a cat tree.
Yeah, these are not the fantasy elements of the film, Jack. This is just you're too young of a cat owner to realize what you have or what you let into your house.
So I will say that one thing I liked with Kinako's, the cat's little subplot that was kind of squeezed in here was the fact that so she had taken the place of Muge literally because she was like, I'm an old cat, so I'm about to fucking die, and I don't want my death to make the stepmom sad, so I'm going to take the place of you since you're clearly not doing a great job at making her happy, and then be able to live the rest of your lifespan making Kaoru, the stepmom, happy. But I like how that's resolved, where Kinako becoming Muge means that Kinako is now gone. And so the fact that Kaoru is now missing her cat has her obviously extremely upset. And so like Kinako realizing how much she means to Kaoru as a cat, as her pet. That was a nice little moment, I thought.
I'm glad she wasn't painted out to be a villain.
Right.
She essentially becomes the guide for Mio and Hinode, being their guide as we enter the more fantastical parts of the story. I thought it was a nice little character arc as we entered the giant floating cat tree of the sky that was the final act of the film.
I literally thought I was watching a different movie. And I
know,
didn't
I
like
like
that at
that.
all. Like I wish. So this whole part we
for
just
me,
talked
it's
about.
like, what else? What else could you have done like in this kind of sense? Because I feel like
Nothing. I just don't want anything like this in this movie. This
I
entire
know,
third
like,
act,
okay,
I would just literally erase it.
I know, but then I feel you have the whole thing where it's like, okay, you don't do it. You keep it more like grounded in reality. It's like, okay, is it just them all running around town until they randomly see a giant mystical cat running around?
For me, those plot devices just weren't. That's all they were to me. Were just plot devices, and they were not inherently interesting in any way. And so by the time they even decide to go to the Cat City, the film has already reached its thematic conclusion. Both Muge and Hinode have already come to the realization of that Muge wants to be in her human self and she wants to express herself, and Hinode comes to that same lesson. So they've already completed their growth arc before any of the final 45 minutes of the movie happens. And so everything from there on out is nothing but just plot resolution that is also like introducing new plot elements and just like pulling stuff out of thin air that I'm like, what is happening?
Here is the thing, Jackery. Because yeah, they verbally admitted to themselves that they want to do things, they want to be different people, they want to do that stuff. That still requires actual like physically doing changes. That still requires like actually commitment to stuff. So you still have to have some sort of like actual physical resolution. Like it can't just be I'm gonna be better, because then you're in Evangelion territory, and that only works a few times ever. I've seen that happen where it's just I'm gonna be good now. So
I think that they could have found a simpler way to have a big climax with the creepy mask salesman that didn't take both 45 minutes, which is it almost took over a full third of the movie. But
the animation was so good in that part.
I'm not knocking the production of it at all. Like, I mean, certainly it looked great. I don't think it's good writing to introduce all of these new plot devices 2/3 of the way through your movie when your movie has already reached its thematic conclusion. Because at this point, like, it honestly bored me for that whole part. Like, I was just waiting. I was just waiting for it to end. Because yes, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, but none of it really means anything. You know?
Well, no, because you are seeing the other humans who are stuck in cat forms permanently. You're seeing like their side of the story.
Why were they humanoid?
You're getting more.
That was another thing.
Because they're around each other and they're like, screw it, I know, this is our own society.
Like, why couldn't Muge have just stumbled across a little group of actual cats in the real world that did used to be humans, just like her?
Because then how can they hold little beer bottles?
Exactly. Well, that's my point, you know? I mean, like, it's just... And I guess that's why I didn't like it, was because it just felt like doing this stuff for the sake of doing it.
But it wasn't bad, so what's wrong with it? That's the whole thing.
It wasn't this movie. You know, it didn't match the first 2/3 of the same movie that it was in.
Yeah, but we're seeing then like this one ominous giant cat here, like jumping in pots and just random windows and like soda machines. Like, there's clearly more going on here. We just can't physically see it yet. And like that's the thing. Like, okay, I'm waiting to see it. That's the thing. You set up this whole thing where it's like, yeah, there's literally portals and bridges and things we can't see, and then we're told like in storyline like, oh yeah, no, it's because you're still too human. You can't see it. So essentially, it's like as things get worse and worse, that becomes part of an advantage where it's like, okay, oh, he's there now. I can actually see it. And like things, you have to get, it builds up that escalation. Because it's on one hand, you can actually solve the issue now, but it's also you're getting closer and closer to being permanent. Like, this works. This works, Jack. This works.
I couldn't disagree more. Like, I just think that
it works. It works narratively.
Fit this movie. I don't think it's written particularly well because nothing is explained about this cat city. Like, what's the whole thing with the sacred tree at the end? The cat salesman is like, I will consult the sacred tree gods who will descend their life force into me. And it was like, what is happening anymore? What has this film become? It's a fantasy that for me didn't need to be a fantasy to this extent. I appreciated the simplicity of its fantastical elements early on. The one other thing I did want to address about the third act, and based on what we alluded to this earlier, so I think that this might actually be something that you do agree with me on, was that so as long as it was for me, you end up spending no time with the actual like resolution to the character subplots that were introduced. Those are just saved for like brief montages during the credits.
Yeah.
I wish we actually got those scenes.
I mean, to be fair, that's doing resolutions in your credits, especially in anime films, is not new. I've seen that all the way back in the 70s with films.
I've seen it too, but I guess the bigger problem, it's like, I don't hate that in a vacuum, but when you combine it with the fact that it felt the movie for me felt like it was wasting time for 30 minutes, and then we don't even get those scenes, they're just put in the credits. It's like we couldn't have used any of that 30 minutes with this.
If you didn't like that third act, then I could see that. But it's nothing new. One thing, I was fine with them kind of like resolving this real quick. I really like the animation style there. It was a little different. It kind of looked like the ED to Cardcaptor Sakura Clear Card. Have you ever seen that ED?
I have, yeah, that's a good comp.
I'm not sure how I felt about them setting up a whole like quick subplot of the two side characters being in a relationship now. I feel like if you want to resolve things, fine, but like there's a whole like minute in the credits dedicated to the fact that these two side characters now are an item.
Everyone has to be paired off. Didn't you know that, niece? It's an anime romance. Yeah, they're friends of the main characters, therefore they must be together.
I did like the one little cutaway where you see the two bullies previously in the film, where they just said, "Hey, bullies," and they're all like starting to shudder and look away, like, "Hi, sorry," because they realize, if they do anything, they're gonna throw a whole desk at me again.
Traumatized, deservedly so.
Yes.
So, in the end, niece, do you recommend this film?
I am going to recommend this film. This film is not Makia, it's not Penguin Highway, but this film is still quite enjoyable. Everyone working on it knows how to tell a story, how to visually tell a story, and how to basically make you connect with a character. And while there are some subplots here that I didn't really connect with or I thought could have been done better, as a whole, this is worth checking out. This is not a film that I'm going to say is going to win UTS's Anime Awards Best Film of 2020.
It won't do that.
I don't think that, but I would say it's a good nomination. This thing is worth a nomination, I feel. I enjoyed it. I can't say you have to watch it, but I can't say it's not worth seeing.
For me, I kind of look at it like there's a lot of different things that this film does, and a lot of different types of elements it has, all of which I think are done significantly better by other anime or other properties. Like, if you want a powerful story about opening up and expressing yourself, I would say watch A Silent Voice. If you want a wholesome adolescent romance, watch like Tamako Love Story. If you want fun cat hijinks, watch My Roommate is a Cat or She and Her Cat. If you want creepy body horror, play Majora's Mask. Or you know what else I thought of? I thought of that one Goosebumps episode or book, the Haunted Mask.
Oh, crap, that one.
I was thinking of that.
You don't have to explain it beyond that. I remember that one.
Oh, yeah, the plenty of nightmares coming from that one, yeah. So if you want horror, go there. But as it stands, though, like, I can't say it was the most enjoyable experience I've had this year watching anime movies. It's certainly not the worst way you can spend close to 2 hours of your life, but with as many fantastic anime films as are out and continually coming out nowadays, like, I can't say that I would give it my wholehearted recommendation, if that makes sense.
You know what I'm thinking about this, Jack? You know what I'm thinking? When you watch an anime film, you want that good 5-star meal. That's what I'm thinking for you. You want that really nice, it's well crafted, it's well put together. It might make you a little emotional as you're enjoying the flavors. You know what this is, and I think why you're clashing with it? This is a buffet. But like a good buffet, but like one of those like nice Japanese restaurant buffets. You just gotta go around for like 90 minutes, just kind of like, oh, I'm gonna try some of this. I'm gonna try some of this. Have a little fantasy. Have a little comedy. I'm gonna have a little bit of this yandere plot point, this divorce plot line salad.
That basically is. It is something of a Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, I'm just gonna grab all these little things that are mixed together. And I'm just gonna have a nice little time. Your palate is too, and like, no, it has to be. I need to cry 4 times to recommend something.
Well,
Thank you.
I mean, as I hope I've illustrated throughout this discussion, is that I did not hate this movie, and there were certainly things that I liked about it.
You're just having a hard time recommending someone go out and see it.
Right.
That's
like,
the thing.
If what Nice has been saying this whole time about like these fantastic elements, if that's the type of thing that appeals to you, then I'm sure you will also like this movie. So, by all means, if that speaks to you, then yes, you should watch it. However, if you do want more of the stuff that I was talking about, then this probably isn't going to be the one for you.
If you want to, I know, if you want to cry at every film, then Jack's, go to Jack's, go to Jack's 5-star restaurant. But if you want to have a nice time, you want a good family time, go to my buffet.
I just recently watched Angel's Egg and loved that. Okay, I don't have to cry every time for an anime film to get me.
You made your brain cry while watching that.
Oh, that's probably, well, it made my brain like stop it, and I mean that in the best way possible.
That's a movie where it makes your brain like, I need to take a shower.
Oh yeah, for sure. A cold shower, like sitting in the bathtub with the cold shower.
Just sitting down, having a hot coffee on the side. You can just sip on that, so you get like the feeling of the hot coffee inside you, but then like the whole like your nerves being hit by that cold water.
And Kermit meme.